You are now watching the Movie Juice Podcast.
The juice is loose.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Movie Juice Podcast. I'm Dylan.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm James.
Movie juice! Movie juice! Movie juice! Movie juice!
Juice the movie.
Oh yeah!
Oh yeah.
What?
What?
Yeah.
Hello.
What's up?
This week we watched Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
It's just called Beetlejuice Beetlejuice.
It's called Beetlejuice.
We confused you guys.
We just wanted to all say Beetlejuice twice.
Don't say it 3 times.
By movie logic, he should have shown up by now.
No, I think one person has to. No. You're right. Yeah. He would have shown up 2 times over.
Yeah. He would have just like, oh, what do you want?
So what?
That was the best impression I've ever seen.
I saw a meme earlier today where it's like one of my homies is gonna stare at a mirror and say Candyman 5 times. And I'm gonna say Beetlejuice 3 times, and we're just gonna watch them fist fight.
Yeah. I think
Have another homie fall asleep. Have Freddy show up.
the 4th homie will say Bloody Mary. Hey, you can just get everybody in this bitch. So, I guess before we really get started, have you guys seen the first one?
Of course, we watched it.
Absolutely.
All 3 of us together watched it last year for Halloween. In the
Oh,
theater.
that's right. We watched it at the movies together.
Yeah, it was in the Dolby last year.
I was telling research about that earlier. When I asked that, I wasn't even thinking about it. So, do you guys like the original one?
Oh, I fucking love the original. It's one of my favorite horror
Me and my
movies.
mom used to watch it every Halloween.
It's one of my favorite, like, would you call it? Like a comedy? A horror comedy?
Yeah, it's like one of the to me it kind of fits in a similar category to like like family friendly
Yeah.
ish.
For me, it's like
Halloween
like
movies.
Longest Yard. I watched it all the time as a kid.
You see, I didn't watch Beetlejuice until I was an adult.
Really?
I was like 21, 22.
I watched it for the first time in after school because it was like we do this thing in the summer where they would drop me out of school, like we do shit with the school during the summer.
Be like the summer camp.
Yeah, like it would always be playing on the TV. Like we watched it all the time.
Even though there's an F-bomb in it, they still show that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, but I remember because I actually bought it on Steelbook. That was the first time I ever watched it.
Fuck yeah.
And so I was probably like 21, 22, and I mean I immediately liked it a lot. And then every time I rewatch it, I like it more.
I watched the original one multiple times with my mom growing up.
But I haven't watched it very recently.
No.
Like I guess the last time was a
Yeah.
year ago.
Same. That was my
Before
wife's
that,
first time.
I think we had watched it while she was in college.
Yeah, we watched
That Halloween.
Yeah,
And then we were gonna watch it the year after, but she didn't watch it with us. Yeah. And then the first time was last year.
Yep.
But
She enjoyed it.
it's a great movie.
Taking her to see it tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
Word.
Oh, the second one. My bad.
Yeah. Or tomorrow from the day we're recording, not actually the day this is posted.
Right.
So,
obviously.
would you guys recommend people go and see this in the theater?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's fun.
it's an event. It's like if you like the first one, it's an event. You know, like
I agree.
I think you should see it in theaters. It's a good fun time.
It's a nice beginning of fall time movie.
I agree. Like it definitely like kind of opens you up to the spoopy season.
Yeah, and like it's like not like as much as like maybe his older stuff, but it is very Tim Burton.
Oh yeah.
Like you could definitely tell the style was his style.
Yeah, research said that it was probably one of his better movies in a while, and
Agreed. Yeah.
I agree.
Minus like the animated ones, because the animated ones always are kind of good.
Yeah.
Like even Frankenweenie is like not great, but it's not terrible.
I kind of forgot that one even existed.
What's your favorite Tim Burton movie?
Batman.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay, that's fair. I set the bar too low.
I'm just keeping it apart.
What's your favorite animated one?
Corpse Bride. Corpse Bride is my favorite.
I'm glad
animated
we
one.
agree with that one. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I thought you were going to say that.
That's what I was gonna say.
I love Corpse
I
Bride.
like it. I mean, I like Nightmare Before Christmas, but I also definitely like agree that it is overrated.
Good. Yeah.
But I still think
Because I
it's
think
a
Corpse
good
Bride is
movie.
underrated.
I do too.
I remember the first time I saw it in theaters. Me and my mom saw it in Statesville. It was really good.
Have y'all ever watched that movie he made with Johnny Depp in the early 2000s, Sleepy Hollow?
Wasn't that 99?
I don't remember.
I mean,
I don't know what
I'm
year it
split.
came out.
Surprisingly,
but
my dad likes that movie. It's weird because he's like not a Tim Burton guy at all, but he likes that movie.
My cousin, she absolutely loved that movie, and I would watch it with her a couple
Pretty
of times.
good.
I haven't seen it like as an adult.
Yeah, I haven't
I
seen
know
it
I've
as
seen
an
like bits
adult.
and pieces of it when I was a kid. You know, like it being on, and like my brother or sister or my mom was watching
Right.
it, but I don't remember it
You
well
like-
enough to have an opinion.
Yeah, maybe next year for Scaretober.
Hell yeah, I'm down.
Scaretober.
Yeah.
The Scaretacular.
It's coming up
Oh.
here in a few weeks.
We don't have a full name for it yet. 'Cause I'm still not sold on Scaretober.
That's the tentative name.
Yeah.
So the movie begins. It's like a panning shot of
Classic, like
Yeah.
I liked it. It was really cool because it was like mixed with like the model and the real thing, but the model was updated for like this generation.
Yeah.
Nice fucking model. That's from the first one.
That's what I was thinking too. Because at first, like,
Because like you see like Priuses instead of like the old cars that were in the first one, which is cool.
Yeah.
Also, it's cool to
and
see
you see like
updated.
cars driving, and then all of a sudden, like you can tell you're in the model,
Yeah.
and then it's pretty cool. And then
Great music from Danny Elfman, as always.
Oh yeah,
as always.
Motherfucker knows how to make a soundtrack.
it's soundtrack, not album, because
Yeah.
fucking Oingo Boingo sucks ass.
And then
Didn't even know he was in that band.
Yeah, he's the lead singer of it.
Does it start with her on the movie set?
Yeah, she like we think it's the house, but then when we
Yeah.
pan in, it like does this weird cut where like boom, she's on like a soundstage. Lydia has this new show called Ghost House,
Ghost
where
House.
she goes to ghost houses.
Well, honestly, I don't think like in universe it isn't new. Like, because like later on, you find out that she's like a celebrity and like people know who she is. So I think she's kind of been doing that show for a while.
Yeah. I just meant like for
Yeah, that's why I,
I
said
didn't mean it
in
was
universe.
new, but yeah,
you know?
I got you. Yeah,
But yeah, so she's like
she's helping this couple with his dog.
the dog's name is Taco.
Yeah, that was fucking
Yeah.
adorable.
Yeah.
And like
the
she shows this footage of
Chihuahua dog.
of her being in their house and like, oh, it's the ghostly presence doesn't want me here. And then the fucking dog's on the ceiling fan.
Yeah,
That was
And, like,
funny.
the cabinets are slamming and stuff, and it looks super like gimmicky.
Yeah.
like
Oh,
it really
God,
does.
Like I was
Well,
wondering
those-
if it was going to be a plot point, like it was all fake.
Yeah,
but then we
well-
but then we kind of get the reveal that like I guess like I just thought maybe she could see the Maitlands in the first one because I don't know, she was, like she says she's like strange and unusual or whatever. I didn't know she just had the power to see all ghosts.
Yeah.
So like, but like apparently it's not. I thought maybe she was gonna be like, oh, it's all fake, but no, apparently she can like actually see
Yeah.
ghosts.
Well, I mean, to be
I'm sorry
fair,
about
like
that, nice.
90% of those shows are fake.
True, yeah.
So-
Fucking Zach Baggins.
I'd argue 100%, bro. I don't think ghosts are real.
with
Dude.
his bedazzled jeans.
Wait, there was an episode where Chris James watched it, where like he goes to like this hotel room and tries to fuck the ghost.
And so then while she's talking, she has like a vision of like Beetlejuice
In
the
the
crowd.
crowd, but it's
Yeah.
just like, it's just some guy in a black and white striped shirt, and then they cut the show. She's like, oh, she's something like, oh, cut,
They go to
cut.
break.
Yeah, they go to break, and then they're like, all right, lunch. So like they stop, and then she goes into the bathroom, and then she goes in there, and
Pop some
she
pills.
like there's like a lady talking to her about
The
like
magi-
the
the
magician.
magician.
I knew I should have picked a better magician or
Yeah,
whatever. And
yeah.
then she looks at her, and she's got like
a throwing knife in her head.
in her head, and at
Yeah.
first I thought it was just like a prop person because they're at a TV studio.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
But then it disappears like right after she looks away.
Yeah, but then it disappears whenever the dude comes in there.
And you're like, oh, it's a ghost.
And the dude is like her manager, but they're also dating.
Yeah.
And you see him earlier too, like he's the one that like gets her off the stage and shit.
He's like, we'll take a break real
that
quick.
that is one thing I liked about this movie more than the original. You get to see more ghosts
Yeah.
because in the first one you really just
See the Maitlands. Yeah.
You see the Maylands and then that football team.
Yeah.
Where
I don't
see
think
the
we
ones
survived that plane crash, Coach.
oh,
You
you
see the ones
think?
like in the underworld, but you see a lot more of them.
Yeah.
I like in this movie. I love all the dead people. Like there's so many. They found so many more fun ways to make
Yeah.
dead people.
Well, also it's just like
Yeah.
the way technology's advanced, like it's probably
Because my favorite one from the first one was always the guy with the chicken wing in his throat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was always funny.
So the dude comes in there while she's like
And
popping
she
pills.
tries to hide the pills.
and I guess it's like I don't know what it's supposed to be.
I think it's supposed to help her not see ghosts.
Yeah, I
'Cause,
don't know.
Like
if
I
it's
think
like,
she sees the ghost. That's when she starts popping it. So I think it like kind of calms the visions.
is it like oxys or
Something like that. I don't-
anti-anxiety?
I wouldn't know
or
exactly,
what?
but-
Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe Xanax.
But it like
Yeah.
helps the visions apparently.
they're talking.
I'm trying to find his name.
Oh yeah, I don't remember his name.
I just know the actor name is Justin Theroux.
Justin Theroux.
Rory.
Rory. So Rory comes in there like right after she takes pills. She hides it behind her back, and they're talking about like he's like, "What happened?" Blah blah blah.
Terrible ponytail.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude, it's
oh,
rough.
terrible.
It's rough. Then he basically like this is kind of whenever you establish that like they're together because he like gets real
Yeah.
close to her.
And I could clock this. This is when I first clocked it. I was like, something's wrong with this guy. He's kind of shady.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he's talking about like how like, oh, I'm not gonna have you taking these pills to numb your thing or whatever. And I'm like, you could tell just the way he went about it. You could tell it was
Yeah.
shady. I didn't know what or how yet.
And then he
But-
was just like, I'm going to fish these pills out of the trash can for you only once.
Yeah, he's like, this is the last time I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you feel bad, I feel bad.
And then
he
he
was
says-
kind of already giving weird toxic energy.
Yeah.
He says like, this is the last time I'm gonna fish these pills out of a trash can, sink, or toilet for you. And then whenever he goes to give her another one, he pops one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so they both take pills.
So it might have been Oxy or Xanax.
And then her phone keeps going off, and he's like, "Oh yeah, your mom's been having text diarrhea."
Stepmom.
Stepmom, yeah, that's true. Stepmom diarrhea, text diarrhea from stepmom.
Stepmom diarrhea.
And she finds out that her dad died.
Diarrhea Stepmom. Great band name.
Write that down.
But yeah, so then she goes to see, because she won't tell her on the phone, so she goes and sees her at her art exhibit where I guess she was getting airbrush painting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because it's not. She doesn't tell her that her dad's dead. She
Until
just
she
says
gets
something
there.
about her dad.
Yeah, and then she goes. She's like, "Oh, yeah, he's left." He said, "Oh, he's left us." And what do you mean? He's like, she's like, "You're getting a divorce." She's like, "No, he's dead." And I was like, "That's a."
Are you divorcing? Why would you say that?
It reminded me of Cuckoo. That's a fucking weird way to put it.
And then like there's like she's like talking about, and she's still like a very selfish woman, which I think is a nice trope that they brought.
Yeah.
But like you can tell they're not like mean to each other.
No, not
Which is
anymore.
nice,
Like
yeah.
they've like
squashed their
fixed
beef.
their relationship, which is nice.
But
Which-
she's still like self-absorbed.
for sure.
Also, I think the way they killed the dad off in this movie was great.
Yeah, it was a good way to keep him out because of his past.
Yeah.
the actor's allegations.
No, that's
Yeah.
not an allegation.
Oh, yeah,
that's true.
That's
He was,
fair.
But anyway,
That's it.
we're not going to dwell on that.
he was
but-
found guilty.
He's found guilty. Okay.
But yeah, the way they were able to not have him in the movie was done pretty well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Instead of just like, which you find out here in a little bit, but like instead of just like killing him or saying he died a while back or something, and they
Yeah.
still talk. But then you have she has a graffiti artist and she's canceled his show,
Yeah.
and he's mad about it because she canceled because her husband got killed and he
but
dies.
I think there's a language barrier. That's why he's made. He doesn't know that the husband died.
That's true.
I just think there's a language barrier. He's pissed that they canceled.
And also, it tells us how he died. It says that he was off
He was coming back or something.
Back
he had-
from
for
bird
bird
watching in like South Africa or something.
and his plane crashed.
And then there's like a little stop motion thing. He like floats to the plane on the plane wing and he's fine. And like, oh yay! And there's like, oh, so he's like, so what's the problem? And she's like, he was then bit by a shark.
Yeah, he got his head bit off by a shark.
And then I think they used just like random photos of him, but I think the photo they used was from the first one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because then every other time it's usually a drawing of him or like a painting or something.
Yeah.
And then the graffiti artist,
He leaves, walks outside.
he
He's like,
storms off,
yeah,
really.
and then he falls down a manhole.
He just falls down a fucking manhole. He's not paying attention. And then it pans down, and he's in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Because he's dead.
And he's got this big knot on his forehead, right?
Yeah.
That's where he died.
Yeah.
And then he comes up on Danny DeVito waxing the floors.
Yeah. Which I didn't know he was in this.
I knew he was in it from the trailer.
Yeah,
And I know
but-
he's talked about it, but he wasn't like marketed at all, which we find out is because he dies pretty early on in the
Pretty
movie.
much
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah, pretty much.
But he's
yeah.
waxing the floors, and he's like, he's talking French. And then Danny DeVito's like, yeah, down the hall, second door on your right. And
then
he
he-
goes down there, and then Danny DeVito goes to put his stuff away, and then like
He drinks like Drano.
Yeah.
yeah, which is weird.
And then he grabs a different machine, like a waxer.
Yeah.
He grabs a waxer and he starts he goes to like some other room
Yeah.
and
There's
he
water
like
on the floor.
he like runs over a puddle of water and there's like a shot of electricity and it like
Yep.
hits these
Crates.
these crates of like a body that's like lost and found or some
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
And the crates all come down and then it's like there was a really cool scene though, of, like
Yeah.
the body like putting itself together.
Stapling
With
it.
a staple gun,
And then she starts stapling herself.
It was really cool, yeah.
and you don't know who she is yet, but you can tell she's like the big bad of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
Very ominous.
she
and
puts
then-
herself together.
And then she fucking sucks off Danny DeVito.
And Danny DeVito's like, hey, he's like, hey, you're not supposed to be down here. And then she kills him. She
Yeah.
sucks his.
She's called a soul sucker.
She's called a soul sucker.
Dude.
She kills the dead people. Like,
Yeah, like
There's a-
Willem Dafoe puts it later. They become dead.
they become dead. Yeah.
Dude,
There's no coming back from that. He says.
Beetlejuice has a fucking great line
Yeah,
about
because they're like, oh yeah, she's a soul sucker. He's like, yeah, you're right about that.
you can say that.
Yeah, that got me. And
Yeah.
that was funny. But
She puts herself back together. She kills Danny, and then she's off to where we don't really see.
well, then that's whenever you find because she asked him where Beetlejuice is,
yeah,
and then I think doesn't it after that it cut to what Beetlejuice has been doing.
yeah, which is like
Yeah,
he's like running.
Bob.
He's running some sort of section of the afterlife with all the shrunken head people.
Yeah.
And like they each have different names, but the one main guy, he's like his right hand man, his name's Bob.
Bob. Poor Bob.
Poor Bob.
Poor Bob.
Bobo.
But yeah, he's got like a picture of
Lydia.
whenever she was a little girl.
And he's like one day we'll be together somehow,
one day
some
we'll
way.
be together again.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
then we cut to them going to
well, also though, in the museum scene,
right. They talk about
the daughter.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Astrid.
Astrid. They talk about Astrid, played by Jenna Ortega. They talk about Astrid and how her and Lydia don't talk anymore, and there's a strained relationship there.
and then
Yeah.
she makes a funny joke about how like that's just karma for all the hell you put me through when you were a teenager,
Yeah.
which I thought was pretty funny.
And then it cuts to the school that Astrid
Yeah.
is at, and she's at like a private board
Art school.
Yeah.
art school.
That,
bullshit. Is she in
it-
college?
Yeah, I think so.
I couldn't tell.
It was like the Dietz School of Art.
Yeah.
I think her mom founded it.
I noticed the name there.
And then that fucking sculpture in the yard is her sculpture from the first movie.
Yep.
And then
what
she's
is her name?
Lydia?
No, Delia.
Delia. That's
Delia.
right.
So, like it shows where she's hanging up a sign, and I can't remember what it says, but you can tell she's like a protester kind of thing. Like,
There's another picture later on.
Raging Against the Machine.
There's another picture later on in her dorm room where like there's a picture of her at like a rally or something.
Yeah, with her dad. And so she puts up a sign, and then she's going to her dorm room, and her mom keeps calling her, and she's ignoring her.
Yep.
And
then we get that scene from the trailer where like she's kind of going Wednesday Adam on the preppy girls, where she's like, oh, when you're sipping on your mocha or whatever, and you're fucking
whenever you're on your
whenever
you're on your third kid and your second divorce, you'll know who has the last laugh, or I'll have the last laugh. Because she opens up her dorm room,
there's a ghost.
There's a ghost that comes down because they're making fun of her because her mom's the ghost house lady.
Yeah.
So that's probably that's a big reason probably why she resents her mother so much.
Yeah. But then she goes into her room, she's mad.
Yeah, she's mad, and she accidentally like knocks the picture over, and that's when you see the picture of her and her dad and the protest that they were at, or the rally.
And then we like cut to them in the car trying to figure out who's going to go talk to her.
Yeah.
Or like get her to come down.
Yeah.
And at first Rory's like, yeah, let me do it. And as soon as he said that, I'm like, that's not a good idea.
Delia was just like, it's like, now that Charles is dead, there's no men in the family.
Yeah. He's like, well, I'm going to be part of the family very soon. I'm like, fuck you. Dude.
Yeah, dude, fuck you, man. You can honestly tell even at that point that like, homie's just trying to get in there for money.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And
it's that shitty fucking Gaston ponytail.
Yeah, it's like a
got.
fucking
Never
dick
fails.
and a half. You know what I mean? Just a fucking cock.
But then when they get there, Lydia's like, I better go do it. And then that's when Delia's like, no, I'll do it. Like,
yeah, and then
she's just out there going, Astrid!
Quit giving your mother trouble. Or
whenever I normally think it's funny, this is not a good time.
But it's not good.
Your grandpa died. And then what does she call him? Her horny handman or something?
Horny handyman.
Her horny handyman.
Yeah.
And that shit made me laugh.
I leaned over to Kyle and I was like, well, he was definitely horny, but just not for her.
Yeah.
And he's like, because she's like, your mommy's daddy died. And she's just like screaming it in the courtyard, and like all the kids are like poking out.
She's like, wait, he was like the only normal one in this family. I'm kind of sad about it.
She's like, oh, he's like the only one that's like half normal.
Yeah, he wasn't fucking weird.
And they're sitting out there talking.
In the movie.
And this is whenever like you can kind of get an idea of Astrid and Lydia's relationship, because Astrid's like talking about her bullshit ghosts and all that.
Yeah.
Even in the movie, he's still kind of weird. What kind of hobby's fucking bird watching?
That was weird, yeah.
That's still a weird hobby.
Well, I guess it has something to do with like, remember in the first movie he moved there to relax.
Yeah.
So I guess he just picked up bird watching while he was out there. I don't know.
Well, no, because in his room originally had a bunch of birds and shit.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember.
In the first one.
Yeah, because I think he even like looks at books about birds in the first one.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
It's just a weird hobby. I've never found bird
yeah.
watching. There's a whole movie
Same.
about it. Owen Wilson.
I thought you were going to say Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
No.
have that.
It's Jack Black, Owen Wilson, and who's the dad from Cheaper by the Dozen? I can't remember his name.
Steve Martin?
Steve Martin. I could see his face, but I couldn't remember
Right.
his name. But yeah, it's all those three. I watched it one morning because
For some reason, I was thinking of Daddy Daycare, because I was already saying Eddie Murphy.
I think it's called The Big One.
But anyway. She goes out there, talks to them all. She talks to her mom as well.
Like I said, we see that relationship.
Yeah.
And then while they're talking, her mom sees Beetlejuice again.
Yeah, and some kid, but then some kid dressed up in a suit.
And then it cuts
To Beetlejuice.
to Beetlejuice in the office.
Yeah, with Willem Dafoe.
Well, at
Well,
first,
before that, I think it's back in the office because that's when we get the confirmation that he is trying to reach her through the visions.
because he's talking
Yeah.
about, oh, I know she saw me that time. So I
Yeah.
felt it. And then he gets the call.
That's when he gets the call about.
Willem Dafoe needing to see him.
Yeah. And then Willem Dafoe it's funny because he's a detective in the afterlife, but he's only that because he played a detective when he was alive.
Yeah, he was an
So
actor.
I always thought, because there's a scene later on where I think it's really funny where like the actor being he's doing more acting than actually police work, and it's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing it a lot, and it's fucking awesome. Like,
because it works really well towards the end of the movie too.
Which, it's kind of funny whenever he's explaining to him how he died to Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, man, I don't use stuntmen. I am my own stuntman.
He's basically Tom Cruise in the afterlife.
Which is funny because for Spider-Man No Way Home, that was the only way he would sign on to
It's just do his own stunts.
if he could do his own
what
stunts.
was what was the thing he would always say though? He has like a tagline in that movie that he keeps saying.
Something about being real, right?
Keep it real.
Keep it real.
He says,
because that's his thing. It's like, I'm the real one because I do my own stunts. So keep it real.
yeah, and then
It's got to be real.
He's like, no, you kept it too real.
Yeah.
because his head is like scraped.
Yeah.
And you can see like some of the skin, and then you can also see his skull and his brain.
Yeah.
Which is fucking cool.
And he was like, man, I had this one stunt, got a little too close, and he was like, yeah, you could say it was real close.
It was a little too close.
But this is whenever you find out that the lady who put herself apart back together is
Beetlejuice's ex-wife.
Beetlejuice's ex-wife.
Which I always wondered, like, if there was more to that from the first one when he pulls the ring out. I was like, oh, he was married before, huh? So it's cool now we know who it was. Does she have a name, or is she just the soul sucker?
She definitely has. I know it's not Soul Sucker.
Yeah.
It's Dolores.
Dolores, that's right. Because we get the backstory here in a minute.
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
talk. Yeah.
At the end, Rory has that shirt.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
Dolores.
His whole backstory's in fucking Spanish, I think.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's after we get back. But anyway, he's like talking about him because at the crime scene, he takes Beetlejuice to the crime scene, and it's like written in I think it's written in the Drano from Danny DeVito's blood. It says, "Bring me Beetlejuice." Or
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
And that's where he's like, would you know anything about that? And he's like, I don't know anything. I don't know, bitch.
I don't know what you're talking about. Never seen her day in my life. He's like, even when I was alive.
yeah.
And Willem Dafoe's like, you sure about that?
Right. The Willem Dafoe lets him go, but he's like, yeah, he gives him like the don't leave the country spiel.
Yeah.
Like, where could he go? He's in the afterlife. But he's
Keep
like,
it low-key.
he's like, keep it low key. I'm gonna need you again. And then he goes back to Bob, and then that's when we get the backstory. Like he tells the whole backstory to Bob and the crew, but when he does, it's like dubbed over in Spanish.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
You find
That's
out
weird.
because it cuts back to him, and he's like robbing graves and shit. And,
Yeah,
like,
fuck,
he steals that person's tooth because you see Michael Keaton without his makeup on.
Yeah.
And then he talks about
Still not that attractive with or without that.
Yeah, I'm
makeup.
surprised. I'm surprised that Dolores wanted him. Like
yeah,
that.
she was hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And he's
Well, to be fair, she wasn't going for the wiener. She was going for the soul.
Yep.
true.
She's trying to suck that soul out.
He's like stealing from him, and then he like turns around, and it's this lady. Because it also shows like medicine men like throwing the fucking bodies, and he's like,
Yeah.
you know, these plague-filled bodies. He's like stealing their shit. He's like stealing the tooth and putting it in his mouth. And
You're right.
crazy shit. And then he says that like, you know, she immediately caught his eye. He like turns around and sees her. She's like this beautiful woman, and then it shows them getting married, and he's like, yeah, you know, we had a normal wedding, you know, we drank each other's blood and bit the head off chickens and sacrificed a goat.
That did not happen at my wedding.
Yeah.
Normal wedding for the time, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Right. And then he talks about how on the wedding night they fucked a little bit.
Yeah,
He got
well,
some stanky on his hang down.
Sounds like he got
Yeah.
some real stanky on his hang down. He got
Yeah.
that fucking
Because he was
14th century stanky.
he was talking about
Oh,
he was
no.
talking about how weird it was too. So I guess they were doing some weird kinky shit too.
Yeah, dude. He's talking
Because like they're like bouncing all over the bed and different. It was weird.
you
washed
think-
in the
do you-
river 3 times a year stanky. on
Weird
his
question.
hang
Do y'all
down.
think they did anal back in those days?
I don't know, man. I don't even know if you can tell because, you know, it's probably so like dirty and airy.
Yeah.
Just like shoved it somewhere.
You just aim for the wet spot. You know?
I bet oral wasn't really a thing back then.
Oh God, no.
But I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't know. That's why we need a time machine to get the answers to these questions.
Was oral a thing? When did it become a thing?
When was butt stuff created?
but then after that she pours them both a drink, and then they both drink it and throw their cups in the fireplace, and then. He's like, oh, I'm feeling a little weird. And she's like, oh, it was poison, huh? And she's like the leader of some weird cult.
She's like, yeah, like soul sucker cult or
Yeah.
something.
Hey, back in those days, that was a murder. Nowadays, that's just a YouTube prank.
Got you.
And then, like while his mouth is like foaming, he kills her. Like he starts chopping her up, and then
Yeah.
they both die. So you find out how Beetlejuice dies.
And you find out why she was chopped up in different crates.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And so then we cut to back to the funeral, or we cut to the funeral, my bad. And that's when we get that thing from the trailer where like the choir is singing Deo, and like we're getting that pan of all them. And then we go into the wake after that, right?
Well, there's a scene where Jenna Ortega's character Astrid is sitting on a bench away from everyone,
Right, that's after the actual
and that's like during the funeral
before they go back to the house.
and before they go back to the house. And I believe Rory like wants to go and try to talk to her.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, they talk at the wake. But anyway,
But Winona Ryder's character Lydia goes out
And
there.
tries to talk to
tries
her.
to
Tries to
her,
talk to her.
and doesn't really get anywhere. Like you just see more of their like strained relationship.
right. She says, I haven't been to a funeral since Dad. And then Lydia's like, oh, well, maybe you should talk to the therapist about that. And then Astrid gets mad because she's like, oh, once again, you don't want to talk about it. You just want to pawn it off to someone else.
Yeah.
Because you never want to talk about Dad.
And then she talks about how like, you know, it's funny you can see all these other ghosts, but you can't see Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about that, and then it goes back to the underworld because you see
Yeah.
You see Charles with his shark bit head.
Yeah, he's like talking like a little
a little tube that
like
squirts
his, like
blood.
his esophagus, I guess.
Yeah.
And he goes and he goes in like a random dry cleaner.
He's like, oh yeah, I need to pick up blah blah blah. 'Cause I need to get back to my wife or whatever.
And the dude starts yelling at him. He's like,
Like,
go,
get out.
you need to go get a number or something. Like, you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah. He's like, oh, okay, sorry.
And then he walks away.
And the dry cleaner's like, oh, someone's here. Who's here?
Yeah, and he's like starts looking through all the different little clothes he's got.
Yeah.
And it's
The Soul Sucker.
Dolores.
I like calling her Soul Sucker because it's funnier.
It is funny.
Dolores, and she like peeks out and fucking just kills him.
Yeah. So sucks his soul.
And then she takes
Poor
a
guy.
wedding dress
I wonder if it's
Paints
pleasurable for them.
Probably not. Probably very painful.
and she like turns it black.
Yeah, paints it black.
Yeah.
She rolls stones it.
style.
Yeah.
Cuts back to
That's just when we go to the wake at the house.
the wake at the house, and they have like a giant veil over the entire house.
That was a cool fucking set piece.
It was a
Yeah.
cool shot. Yeah, like
I wonder if they had to rebuild that house because
Yeah.
they probably did.
because I know they built it for the original, but I don't know if they just kept it on a lot somewhere, or if they just had to fucking build it.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Because like whenever you make movies like that, you don't know that they're going to become iconic.
Yeah,
Sure.
Because like,
I know the Norman Bates house is still up.
Yeah.
Like they never take that. That's at the studio.
and the set from Hunger Games, it's still near where we live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tourist attraction now.
Yeah.
And I know the Breaking Bad RV, it's still on Paramount or whoever made that lot.
Yeah.
At the wake, you see them talking, and Rory tries to come and talk to Astrid about all the things that have happened.
And he's like, hey, if you ever need to cry or need someone to talk to, I'm here. But he's doing it very like skeevily.
It's like
Yeah, very-
disingenuous.
Yeah, you can
very
tell.
ridiculous.
And she calls him out on it in like no time. She's like, I see you.
Yeah.
You have everyone else fooled, but not me. I see you for
I
what
see
you
your
are.
I see that you're a piece of shit.
And she just walks away like, "Oh, see you later." He's like, "Oh man, she got me." And then this is
You
where
got
we
me,
meet the real estate agent.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Is it the same one from the first movie?
I think it might be. I think it's
Or
supposed to be like.
is it supposed to be the same character?
I think it's supposed to be that girl's daughter, maybe.
Oh, okay.
'Cause
Because
she's like-
she also has her daughter with her, and she's like, "Oh, I want to sell this house," just like the first one.
she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, little so and so." I can't
Yeah.
remember the real estate agent lady's
No,
name.
I don't
Oh,
remember.
little real estate agent lady, and then she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, even littler one," because it's like her daughter.
Yeah.
And like she talks to them for a minute, and she's talking about how she wants to sell the house. And
But like
she's
this time, they actually want to sell the house. So
Yeah,
like
she's
they
like,
want to sell it and
actually
get the
gonna
hell
sell
out of
the
there.
Yeah.
Because they're down there for like 3 weeks at the beginning. They said they're going to be down there for like 3 weeks trying to sell the house and get it ready to move. So I think it's a funny inversion. That, like,
I'd buy it.
that, like this time they actually want to sell it and get rid of it.
Is that when you find out that the Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis's characters from the first one had moved on, or is that later?
That's in a little bit, I think.
I think
Okay.
it's a little bit later.
Okay.
But
'Cause
I know.
I remember she calls it the original ghost house.
Yeah, they call it the original ghost house, and then
After we meet her and they talk about wanting to sell the house or whatever, I think that's when we go back to Beetlejuice.
well, Rory proposes.
Oh, yeah, fuck, I totally forgot about
Rory
Something just made sense.
What?
I realized why she called it the original one because later on you find out there's a different ghost house on the same area.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So,
Interesting.
So now her saying calling it the original makes
Yeah.
sense a lot more sense now.
I thought they just called it the original ghost house
Because she's been in so many on her show.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But that's also
yeah.
true.
Oh,
But that's also like a
double meaning.
yeah,
Yeah.
a train of thought for sure.
Yeah.
Then Rory basically makes an ass out of himself.
Yeah, which is, it's like motherfuckers who hijack weddings to propose.
Yeah, it's
I'm like,
basically
fuck
the exact
you,
same
dude.
thing.
Yeah,
But
whenever-
instead it's a wake instead.
Whenever I had mine, I told her sister that's not married. I was like, look, if y'all try to get fucking engaged at this wedding, I'll throw you both in the fucking lake.
Well, it's just tacky, and this is
It's
even more
tacky
tacky.
and it's classless.
I agree.
Oh yeah.
And this motherfucker legit, he's like, "Will you marry me on Halloween?" And then you find out that Halloween's 2 days from there. So this is
Yeah.
taking place on October 29th.
Yeah.
And
Right before Donnie Darko dies.
right
Hey,
before Donnie
October
Darko dies.
29th is my wedding anniversary.
Hey, that's true.
It's true.
And so at first she's like, "No, I'm not ready." Like, and then she keeps like looking at her daughter, and she keeps looking at.
And like you can tell she doesn't want to go through with it, and the daughter's like, "You're not going to go through with this, right?"
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
what's her name? Delia.
Delia.
Delia. She's looking at her, and Delia's like, "No."
Because even Delia's like, "Really, you're gonna do this now?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it now."
And then he keeps,
Everybody hates him.
he
Yeah.
keeps pressing, and she's like, "Okay, I
I
guess."
guess. And then Astrid storms off.
Yeah. She grabs her bike and just starts.
Hightails it out of there.
Cool scene, because
Yeah.
she rides through the bridge from the first one.
Yeah, which was really cool.
And then she
She
rides,
rides
through
past the hardware store, which is a coffee
Yep.
shop now.
yeah.
And I was like, damn.
And you see like how the town's changed over the last 35 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
And then a car backs out. She swerves.
She swerves, almost runs into a bus, runs into some bushes,
Yeah.
past the bushes, and then slams into a fucking fence and rolls down a hill,
Yeah.
hits her head on a tree.
and I really thought that they were gonna kill her.
Same
Like,
for a second, because they do that later with a different character where I'm like, but I thought they were gonna do it with her. I'm like, oh, she's really gonna die, but then she doesn't.
Yeah, I also thought
Yeah.
she's going to kick the bucket.
Yep, that's what I thought too, and it was gonna be like that. Like that
Because
was
like
gonna be the little subplot.
I know in
Yeah.
the trailer she goes to the underworld, but I was thinking that's how they sent her there.
Right.
Well, also
yeah.
like the way they do it
Yeah.
whenever she does go, like she looks dead because of reasons that we'll get to.
Yeah. And
So
then,
she bumps into a tree,
which also has a tree fort.
yeah, it's a pretty sweet treehouse.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's like a dude up there, and he gets
He's
down.
like, bro, you good? That was rough.
Either one of you guys have tree houses? I know I didn't.
No,
I always wanted one.
Yeah, I was one of them too.
we just didn't really
this-
have like good
this-
enough. We didn't have the right kind of trees.
We had one, but Dad just never would do it.
Right.
It would have been a lot of work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I've always wanted one. Like ever since I saw Empire, bro, or Jedi, I'm like, bro, I would love to have one because you get to see the Ewok forest. I'm like, bro, I'd love to have just a fucking village in the trees.
Tell
It'd be
you
cool
what,
as fuck.
if me and research don't have kids, I'll build us a treehouse.
Hell
Fuck
yeah.
dude.
Yeah, it'd be
We'll
sick.
go up. We'll
Hey,
go
We're
up.
like 45-year-old
We'll
men.
go up there, smoke the devil's lettuce.
Hey, we will make sure we cut the door out before we pull it up.
Yeah.
If Drake and Josh taught us
Go
anything.
get the power source. Go get the.
Oh,
There's no door.
there's no door.
You think?
So-
my cousins, they had a tree house, but like they had like a yard fire that they were just burning shit, and it went too high and it caught it on fucking
Oh,
fire.
If they bring me a snow con.
Snow cone. And then they get the dude gets down and he's like they start talking and they immediately connect.
Yeah, but he's reading a book, and she's like, oh, what you reading? And he's like, oh, Crimes and Punishment. And she's like, oh, wow, Dostoevsky, interesting. And they talk about some writing of his where he talks about,
Pain and suffering.
yeah,
There's
which is
always-
funny because there's a different movie we watched that has one of the same passages from that same book. But so they bond over that. They bond over like how they're both kind of, as Lydia put it in the first one, strange and unusual. And then he's like, hey, he tries to shoot his shot. He's like, well, I mean, like, because she talks about how she's trying to get away from the family.
Yeah.
He realizes, oh, wow, your mom's Lydia. You live in the ghost house.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, and he's like, well, I mean, if you still want like more breaks from the chaos that is like your life right now, you can come to my house on Halloween and we can pass out candy.
Well, he just tells her that she can come back the next day.
So he shoots a shot, and he right on target.
And then
This is when I think this is when we get that shot of Justin Thoreau carrying the boxes in.
yeah, because she's like, oh, I gotta go.
Yeah, and Delia's practicing her morning scream.
Morning
She's
scream.
trying to capture the essence of
Sadness or some
Yeah.
shit.
Yes, and she's just like screaming because he's carrying the boxes and he comes running inside.
because he thinks it's Lydia. Because one of the jokes is like he's like, oh Lydia, you okay? I thought something was wrong. I heard you scream, and she's like, no, that was Delia.
It's Delia, yeah.
And that's another one like, oh, he can tell he's just chasing whatever cloud he can.
Yeah, dude sucks.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Fuck you, Rory.
And then cut back to the underworld, and then it cuts back to the office, and then he starts talking about how he's got to like get out of there. And
Yeah.
I think this is when he sees the obituary for Charles dying.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that's my chance.
Now's my chance, you know.
Time
he
to
knows.
shine.
And then it cuts to
Astrid.
Astrid going up to the attic, and she
And
sees like the cool model.
I think there's like a little thing before she walks up the stairs where it's like the Beetlejuice sign coming out of the model.
Yeah, a little
as well.
flyer comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
'Cause
like the thing that points down to where his tombstone is,
Mhm.
like in the original movie.
Yeah.
That pops up too, and then you pans her walking up the stairs.
Well, she comes up and kind of ignores it, and she sees like this box, and she opens it, and it's a photo album of like her parents whenever they were younger and together,
Yeah.
and like her mother is pregnant with her.
And then
Yeah.
you see the picture of them like in Halloween costumes.
Yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
like it's like a really nice little moment because
Yeah.
Lydia comes upstairs and they start talking.
And she's like, "Can I have this?" She's like, "Oh yeah, that's I forgot we had those. But yeah, you can have it."
She's like, oh, that's a picture from our first date when we saw a movie.
Yeah, and then she's like, I was 9 months pregnant whenever we went to this horror movie marathon, and my water broke during like some kind of movie, and she's like, oh, that was Dad's favorite movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they talk about her dad a little bit more, I think, because I think this is when they talk about like, like our relationship was dead like way before we separated, and
Yeah.
like we'd grown apart so much and all this.
And then you find out he was like an adventurer who went on adventures.
yeah, because he went to like Brazil or something.
Yep. And then, but like his boat crashed or something, and they never found his body.
Yep. So like the entire time, I just didn't think he was dead.
Yeah, I just assumed that's.
I
why-
thought he wasn't dead either.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why she couldn't see the ghost.
But I guess later on we find out it's just because he doesn't get many breaks in the
Yeah.
afterlife.
And then Lydia sees the flyer.
No. Because Astrid's like, "Hey, I found this while was looking for this stuff. I found this flyer.
I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah. She's like, who's Beetlejuice? And she's like, don't.
Don't say that name.
It reminded me of the new Candyman where she's like, no, don't say it.
And then she says it again,
The pee
Yeah.
poo man.
Don't think it, don't say it.
Don't think it. Don't say it.
and Lydia freaks the fuck
Like,
out
stop.
on her.
That's it. We're getting out of here. Fuck
Stop!
you.
Stop! Get out of here! You can't come back in this attic. Oh my god! Blah blah blah.
And then she goes down to Delia and she's like, we're burning that fucking model and
Yeah.
we're selling this house and we're getting the fuck out.
She's like, we're gonna move everything out of this house except for that model. We're burning. We're
She's like,
chopping it up and burning
I'll
it.
pay whatever movers they need to get the fuck out. We're getting out of here.
And but because like this is like really the only times where Delia like acknowledges that all that shit happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like most of the time she kind of plays like, you know,
Like, oh yeah, you were just pranking me back in the day.
yeah, you know, she kind of like, she's like, no, whatever that thing was, we're gonna leave it alone.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we're gonna talk about the Maitlands moving on to the afterlife too.
Yeah, that's what it
Sorry.
was. At the end of that scene, she's like, "Oh yeah, with the imaginary ghost that
Mhm.
that whatever," and she's like, "No, they moved on
To the afterlife.
to we found a loophole." And I looked over at Dylan. It's the one time. It's the one time I was a little down on the movie. I was like, "That's just lazy writing
Now,
to not bring them back."
yeah, Gina Davis did say why she didn't come back a few months ago. She was like, yeah, ghosts don't age. I definitely did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could tell because in the movie James and I watched on our own time
Yeah.
by ourselves, she looks very.
She looks pretty old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad, just
No.
just old.
And
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin looks way different than he did.
And I think with
Back
all
in
that
that
with all
time.
that stuff for Rust, I don't think he's
Well, yeah. Well,
got the time.
well, and also like he was like super small, and his
Yeah.
face was smaller back then.
He's like really handsome back in the day.
yeah, like he looks light years different just in
Yeah,
general.
like just like if you look at him then and then at 30 Rock, it's already weird enough.
Yeah.
Looking at him now the 30 Rock's been out there for like 10 years.
yeah,
Like it's even worse. Not that he does look bad, but he looks. It
He's
would just be
aged.
weird.
He's
Time's
aged.
caught up to the man.
Yeah.
Catches up to us all.
Yeah.
And honestly, if they would have been included somewhere in the fucking movie, I don't think Michael Keaton would have signed on. I think Michael Keaton would have been like, nah, it's played out.
Yeah.
Because Michael Keaton always said he'd never do a sequel unless the fucking script was there.
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it was.
It was. I liked it a
It was
lot,
a
yeah.
good script. I enjoyed
They
it.
did more than I thought they could do with it, so
Yeah,
I was
sure.
impressed. They laid my my thoughts of how bad it could be to rest.
I like that because in the first Beetlejuice, you only see him. I think his whole run time is like 17 minutes.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
And I like how they did the exact same thing with this one too.
Yeah.
Like you don't really.
But when
see
he's on
Beetlejuice
stage,
a
he
lot.
fucking steals the
Yeah,
scene.
he
Yeah.
eats that shit up, man.
Yeah.
I was
every
reading.
time.
I was reading an interview with Catherine O'Hara where she said that like Michael Keaton just turned it right.
Right,
back
like
on.
like nothing had
And, like-
changed.
Like it kind of scared her, but also intimidated her.
Right.
Beetlejuice.
like he just
Yeah,
zoned
Beetlejuice.
right back into the character.
But also at this point, like Astrid and her get into like a bit of an argument
Yeah.
because she brings her out of the attic before she goes and talks to Delia. Because she's like, you can't come back up here anymore. Remember? She says
Yeah.
that. And then she talks to Delia about that and how she's like, you need to put that to rest, blah, blah, blah. It's not that important. And then, is this when Astrid goes to that boy's house again?
I think so.
Yeah, 'cause she goes back to the house.
And he brings her in to like kind of see her.
See your parents, but
And-
you never see them from the front. You always only ever see
You
them
can
from the
definitely tell
back.
that something's weird about him,
Yeah.
especially the
Yeah.
mom. Like
Yeah.
she's like erratically moving around the
in
kitchen,
the kitchen.
and shit.
And then the dad, he was literally in that pose from Toy Story when you see Sid's dad just fucking passed out in that
Yeah.
chair watching the TV. Like you only see him like resting his feet on that chair, and then they go upstairs.
Because he's like, "Hey, mom." She like kind of acknowledges
He's
him,
like, hey son.
and then he says, "Hey, dad." And
He's like,
"Arr."
he's like holds his beer up.
And then they go up to his room. He's like, "Let me show you my bedroom."
Yeah.
He has a cool bedroom. It's like all these old posters and shit.
Yeah.
Very.
And she's like, "Oh, you listen to a lot of like old '90s music. You got a lot of old like '90s vinyl," which I didn't recognize the song that was playing.
No, I did not either.
But you know,
Fucking
he's like,
Oingo Boingo.
he's like, "Yeah, you know, I go to like the old record shops and I
She's like, oh hey, where do you find all this stuff? He says, oh yeah, I like going to the actual store because you don't know what you're getting on the internet.
yeah." He's like, "I only trust physical things."
And then later on,
I'm like that with certain things.
we find out all his old '90s vinyl. This is because he's from the '90s.
Yeah. Like, when it
he
comes
bought them when they came out.
Bro died in like 01.
Yeah.
when it comes to like physical media, like vinyls, I don't really trust, or like CDs, I don't really trust. Get them off eBay. I'll either get them from like Amazon or like at Best
Yeah.
Buy, or not Best Buy, but Barnes and Noble. So I kind of relate to the.
I've only ever bought like new vinyls from the internet because
Same.
like you can't buy them anywhere else. And
Well-
I pre-order ones from certain bands
I
that
can,
don't really show up in record stores. At least back in the day, I did.
Well, you bought that one Kanye thing that was used, I think.
Yeah, it's a CD though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're going through the vinyls, and what do they talk about?
This one, she tells him about her dad.
Yeah.
You know, they never found his body.
And then
And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
he's like, that sucks. And then he
Oh,
was like, but since your mom can see ghosts, can't she see him? And she was like, no, mom's a fraud. And he was like, that's a little harsh.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's when she's like, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in things I can't see.
Yeah, and
And I was like, it's funny because you're looking at a ghost right now,
but
you
we
can't
don't
tell.
know it yet. And then he invites her over to his house on Halloween. He's like, "Hey, you know, we can get like a pizza and hand out candy
Hand
to
out
the
candy,
kids."
yeah. And they give each other a look like, oh,
Yeah,
so,
we would like to do that.
But no one really trick or treats anymore.
I'm sure they do still in like towns like that.
yeah, for sure.
Definitely not out here.
No. And then
I think that's when we cut back to
the underworld, because we haven't gone over like Beetlejuice is getting ready to like get ready to leave, and he has his when does he?
oh
make
yeah,
his-
that's right. Yeah, he
Because he turns Bob into his decoy.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, now she's coming for me. I gotta hide. Bob, you're gonna be a decoy.
He's like-
I fall 2 steps behind you.
So if she sucks anybody's soul, it's yours, not mine.
Bob's like, no.
Like Bob's just staring at him like.
I was like, poor Bob.
Bob's a good guy. He's
Yeah.
loyal to Beetlejuice.
And he's like, all right. And then he opens the door up. He's like, all right, close it back up. Don't let anybody in, boys.
And then it's Lydia and Rory.
I think I talk about the wedding or something.
They're talking about the wedding.
Yeah, because they're...
Because he's telling her about like the wedding dresses he has coming in for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think... Aren't they upstairs in the attic?
They end up upstairs, but I can't remember
I
why.
can't
Yeah.
remember why. She like hears something and runs in there, right?
Yeah, because that's...
Oh,
when-
I think something happens. I can't remember what, but then she runs up there and talks to the model. And she's like, "You're not fucking coming out. Stay in the model. You're not coming out. We don't need you."
Yeah. And then she shows him. She's like, "Hey, you remember when we went to couples therapy?
Because that's when he's like, what's going on?" She's like, "Fuck it, I need to tell you."
I've been
like,
repressing this from you."
yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I know you won't believe me.
But when I was a kid, a demon tried to make me his bride.
Yeah. She just basically gives him like a mini exposition dump of what happened in the first one,
Yeah.
just to catch him up.
Yeah.
And he's like, basically like tells her like, "Hey, you're nuts."
Yeah.
And she's like, "You know, you can't say." He says Beetlejuice once. He's like, "No, you can't say
You
it.
can't say it. If you
If
say it 3 times,
it's
he'll
gonna
show up.
Yeah.
And he does basically like what a therapist would do, where he's like, "All right, I'm doing this for your well-being, so you can see it's not real." And he's like, "Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice,"
And then
they end up in the fucking
immediately
model.
End up in the model.
And he's like, "What the fuck happened?" And she's like, "We're in the fucking model because you fucking
You fucking said it
Yeah.
like you did
Yeah.
this." And then they walk. There's like a thing.
I
and
love
it's
the
like,
sign too because he pretends to be a therapist. It's like, you have problems, so do I.
Yeah.
And it's
I
like,
that
"Come
too.
on down." And
Yeah.
it's pointing down, and they start walking towards it, and
the
they
fucking
fall.
ground.
Yeah, they fall
Falls on.
into his office,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Hey, everybody, I'm gonna spill their guts." And then
Who,
everybody
who
says,
wants to go first? Oh, okay, I will.
I
And
will.
then,
His fucking guts just spew out.
Everywhere, and then the dude's like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?" Freaks out, and then
he makes...
he at one point he sews her mouth shut. I think
Yeah,
he does that
because he's like, "Oh,
immediately.
Beetlejuice," and she's like, "Oops, nope."
Yeah.
Yep.
So his mouth shut, and then he's like, "What? Who?" And then
He talks about like
He-
his kid.
Oh,
he's like,
no, he does the guts. He's like, oh, you're just a figment of my imagination. He goes, is this a figment of your imagination?
yeah, and he does the little scared thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Get back to your childhood self. I'll do it first or something." And then like Winona Ryder like fucking gets huge, like pregnant.
Yeah.
And then pops out like a mini baby Beetlejuice.
he's like crawling up around on all the floor and shit.
And then
He starts
like
biting her
he
leg.
starts biting her leg,
Yeah.
and then he.
He goes,
He's
he
like, "Oh,
goes,
like likes that."
Yeah, he's a leg guy like me. something like that. And then he ends up getting the kid, and he's like, "Get out of here, kid!" And
He like
punts it.
fucking punts that shit.
Yeah. Then it goes and lands at Rory, and Rory's like, "Ah!" He's like freaking out.
yeah.
And then Lydia like pulls the stitching off her face.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just goes home, home, home.
Home. Yeah, I don't know how she knew to do that.
That's true, yeah, because Gina Davis does it in the first one.
Oh, hey, also something
And they weren't together.
we forgot to mention that that kid had a book of the recently deceased.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I bought it at a pawn shop or something."
I don't
Yeah.
know, like
In
a
town.
estate sale or
Yeah,
some
she's
shit.
like flipping through it. She's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is some like dumb shit my mom would write.
Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Why does he have that?" And I should have put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, me too, but
I don't
didn't.
know why I didn't.
And I was like,
Because I did find it weird that we didn't see the parents. I did think that was weird.
Me too.
Yeah.
And like they were acting weird,
Yeah.
for sure.
So
But
when I saw the handbook, I should have clocked it, but I didn't.
But they were also like leading into him being like a kid who's like neglected, kind of.
Exactly,
So they
yeah.
don't pay
So,
attention
like,
to him.
It,
So I
it,
didn't
it was a really
really-
good way to put a red herring in there.
I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he had that book. But anyway, back to the Beetlejuice and home. and then they're back, and she's just like
That's
Rory,
when she freaks out.
Rory gets up and he's like, "Oh, I just had the weirdest nightmare," and she's like books it out of the fucking attic.
Finds Delia.
And she's like, "We gotta get rid of everything in this fucking house. I'm gonna pay all these movers to get here because we gotta go.
We're gonna bring the model and get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
And then that's when Astrid's like, "I don't want to leave. I have a date with a boy."
Yeah.
He's like, "Can we please not leave yet?"
And then and she's like, "Okay." And then it shows them like padlock the fucking like chain.
Yeah,
the
she's like,
attic.
no one goes
Yeah.
in the attic.
Yeah.
And then it pretty much just pans to the date at that point. I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
No, I think we get another of the wife, the ex-wife.
Because she goes into Beetlejuice's office and she sees like the picture of Beetlejuice. She's like, "Aw," and then she sees the picture of Lydia and she like throws it on the ground and stomps it out
Bitch. And then she like walks away. Then you see Bob cowered under the desk. And like, "Oh, poor Bob."
because he looks like Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
like, but not really.
Right.
And then it's like the next day, and she's taken.
Lydia
takes Astrid to
the date.
And they get there, and she wants to come in and say hi, which she should have.
Definitely should have.
Because then she would have known.
Yeah.
But she's like, "No, Mom, this isn't a play date."
She's like,
She's
I'm not 6.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's like, "All right, fine.
And-
I'll come pick you up by 10.
but she can see the boy, and she's like, "Oh, he's cute." You
Yeah.
know? And because she can see him too.
Which is why I should have clocked that too, because he's like waving from the
window.
Yeah, and oh my god, it's weird. Why is he not leaving the house? It's weird.
Yeah.
And then Lydia leaves,
Yeah.
and then it shows Astrid like go up into his room,
Yep.
and they're talking They're talking about the pizza, and he's like
And then that's when they start talking about each other's costumes, because he's dressed as
James Dean,
which was fucking cool. He looks cool as fuck. I
Yeah.
like that.
and then she's dressed as
Marie Curie
the one who discovered radiation.
Radiation.
But
after
it's
the
her-
radiation,
after-
specifically after the radiation
Yeah.
poisoning.
Because she looks
Yeah.
dead, or she looks like
Yeah.
she's dying. And then they're talking a little bit, and they're talking about how like they'd rather just like stay up in his room.
He's like, "Oh, hey, he's like, I bought way too much candy. We can like snack on whatever's left." He's like, "I was just kind of hoping we could chill up here."
Yeah.
And then they
And that's when I leaned over to you, and then you leaned over to me, and
Yeah.
I was like, homeboy trying to get some stanky on his hang down.
yeah, and then I heard Kyle say "Stanky" on his hang down too. I was like,
I
"Yeah,
love that it caught on.
Stanky."
Which is probably what it's stank because he's been dead for a while.
Yeah, he has the stanky
Yeah.
and the hang down.
True.
Which hey, sometimes our hang down just be stanky.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
We're men.
We're men.
Dick sweat's a thing.
I'm a man.
Dick sweat and ball sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a little taint sweat.
Yeah.
Schmegel.
That's dick.
Schmegma. My bad.
That's dick cheese.
That's just schmegma. We don't have that because we're all circumcised.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hell
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe he wasn't though, because it was a different time, you know.
Are we talking about our wieners too much?
I
I think we're not talking about him enough. No, I'm just kidding, man. I'm pretty sure
Hey, it took this many episodes for them to find out that
we're good on
we're all
wiener talk.
circumcised.
we're all circumcised. Yep.
You're welcome.
So but whenever they kiss, it's like this nice little scene, and then
it pans like outward, and then oh my god, they're fucking floating.
they're fucking floating, and
Was she floating or was it just him?
They were
that was
both
floating? Okay.
yeah, he like floated her up with him,
Oh, okay.
and Asher like freaks and falls to the floor,
Yeah.
What is this Peter Pan bullshit?
and he's like, "Oh hey, I'm dead."
Yeah, but he's like, "Oh, I thought you knew," and that's when she's like, "Oh shit, ghosts are real. I can see ghosts just like she can see
Yeah,
them."
and he shows her like
And then that's
Where
when she remembers when Lydia told her that she got her ability to see ghosts around the same age.
Yeah.
he shows her where he like fell.
He's like, "Oh shit, my mom's right." He's like, "Oh yeah, I fell out of the treehouse and broke my neck because I would come up to the treehouse and get away from my parents fighting,
Yeah.
and I fell, breaking my neck, and
Yeah.
then I died. And then I got this book, and I've been like lonely forever. I would love to hang out with you,
But,
but there's something we can do. We can go to the underworld, and I can get my life back, and then also we can meet your dad."
Yeah, you can see your dad. Like you'll do it.
Yeah.
if you
That's
see
what
your
tells her.
dad.
She's like, "Fuck yeah, we'll go do
And
it."
that's what seals the deal.
And then it cuts to
Oh no, because he draws the
I
thing.
think that's in a minute. Yeah.
Okay.
Lydia goes home
Yeah.
and she talks to
The
what's his fuck. She talks to Rory for a second because he's giving out candy. to
Oh,
yeah,
kids.
shit.
because Rory's like, "Oh, your dress is
Hold
upstairs.
on.
You have some dresses coming."
We missed the part where it's Astrid and Delia with the snakes because she was going to go to
Hey,
that's right.
Charles's grave.
Before they go to the date, yeah,
Yeah.
she got these snakes. She's like, "I'm gonna go commune with Charles's
Yeah.
spirit."
Because she's like, "Are you gonna give him to Rory?" And she's like, "Haha, no." Like,
She's like, "Are those venomous?" And she's like, "Oh no, they're defanged."
Which that bugged me at the end when she's like, "Oh, are those snakes poisonous?" I was like, "That's venomous. It's only
Yeah, it's
poison
true.
if you fucking eat them.
It's true. Yeah,
Venom is if it bites
poisonous is
you." Then dies.
ingesting. Yeah.
Yeah. If it bites you, then you die. It's venom.
Yep.
Venom.
Anyway, but yeah, so she's like, "Yeah," she's like, "Oh, you have to pay extra for that,but I paid extra to get them defanged."
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
She thought she did. Anyway,
we'll get
but
back
yeah,
to that.
so yeah, and then that's when we cut back to her. She gets home. She's talking to Rory's passing out candy.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, you got your dresses upstairs. Go try them on before the wedding. 'Cause it's the night of the wedding. It's Halloween. The wedding's at midnight. The witching hour is what they say.
I thought
3 a.m., right?
Yeah,
I thought it was
I also
3
thought that was 3 a.m. Not midnight.
Either way, maybe we're just dumb.
No, they're wrong. Fuck them.
Yeah, you're right. They're wrong. There's no way we're wrong.
No, her.
We're men.
No. Lydia goes back and
No, we're not men.
the cellar lady's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were getting
they,
there, sorry.
They talk about
Yeah. They talk about Dead Boy.
Yeah, because she
I
talks
forgot
about
his name.
I can't. She said that she went and dropped her off on whatever street, and she's like, "Oh no, not that street. That's where the murders happened."
She's like,
What
murders.
murders?
She's like, yeah, it's the only house I couldn't sell.
Because she's like, a boy killed both his
Mother,
parents, and then
Was running from the cops and got up in his treehouse and
and
fell.
when they tried to get him out of the treehouse, he fell and broke his neck.
and
died on impact.
And then she's like, what? She's like, what house was that? He's like, oh, that's 115 or whatever. He's like,
Yeah.
that's where I dropped her off.
Yeah,
at.
that's where I dropped her off at. Oh my god! And then
she fucking books it.
Yeah.
Well, she runs. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
she
she
goes to the house.
She goes back to the house.
And then we cut to the house upstairs, and then they're drawing the door.
Yeah.
And
You
she's
have to
like,
knock
"Oh, this
3
is the only
times.
way you go to the underworld by drawing this door and knocking."
He's like,
3
bro, I
times?"
didn't write this fucking book.
She was like, "This is fucking lame."
Yeah.
Like,
And he goes, well, this is how I get there. You have to read this.
This incantation, so you can come back.
yeah. So he opens the door and then she reads the incantation.
Which is basically a contract to, like, give her soul to him.
Basically, just like the crow, soul for soul.
Yeah. Yeah, but better.
There's the Crow song that the Cure sang, and I almost started like belling it out. I do it to her every time, but I'm not gonna do that.
So they go to the afterlife, and then that's when Lydia runs in. And then when she runs in, we see the dad turn around. He's got a fucking saw in his face.
Yeah.
And then the mom comes out and says, "Oh, is that you?" Is his name Peter?
Jeremy.
Jeremy. Like, oh, Jeremy, is that you? She's got a fucking. It's a like a rotary whisk or something in her
like
fucking
shoved
eye.
through her fucking eye.
Yeah. She's like, oh
Yeah.
shit. And then she's
The
like,
mom, Asher's like, "What the?" Or Lydia's like, "What the fuck?"
she goes upstairs and she just misses him by like this much.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to her,
And then she sees the handbook for the recently deceased and takes it. She's like, oh, fuck, thank you.
takes it, and then she goes back to the house.
Yep.
And she goes and she's like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this. Beetlejuice!
Right.
Because she runs by Rory. She's like, oh, I'm going to go try on my dress. Don't come up there. 'cause
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't see me in my fucking gown. I don't know, it's bad luck, whatever.
And he's like,
Oh,
okay, I'm going to go to town.
Yeah, I think during this is when they pan to Delia doing the little snake thing, and it just fucking chops. They both kind of just get each out of her neck.
It's definitely somewhere around here.
Yeah, I think it's like a little later, but it's around this time. I mean, it comes back. It doesn't come back till a little later anyway.
Yeah.
But so we go to mention now. But yeah, the snakes end up biting her, and she like,
Delia dies.
yeah.
R.I.P. And then it's Beetlejuice, and he shows up, and she's like, okay, I need your help to get to my daughter
He's
through
like,
the underworld.
there's only one thing I want. I've always wanted it. You know what I want?
Yeah, she's like, oh yeah, quid pro quo, whatever. What do you want? And
He's
he's
like,
like,
I got this ex-wife. You know, if we get married, we get her out of here. You know?
yeah.
And she's like, I'll do it. Whatever to say about that. I was
He's
like,
like,
all
oh,
right.
I'm gonna
He's
get
like,
that in writing.
I'm gonna need to get that in writing.
And he cuts her and she writes it. So yeah, he says that about his ex-wife. He says they have to get married. She signs her name, whatever.
Yep.
And then he fucking draws a bomb.
That was fucking cool. He's like, well, we can't walk through the front door.
Well,
Yeah.
this is where we got our sound clip from the beginning of the thing. Where
Oh,
he's
yeah,
like,
'cause he
like,
comes
the
out.
juice is
He
loose.
says the
Juice
juice
is
is loose.
It was different. I think it was like a different take too, because he was like, the juice is loose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he says it again though. It's
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, our podcast. Oh my god, that's us.
Hopefully, we don't have to pay him for that.
Yeah, right. So he's like, oh, we're not gonna go through the front door. So, and then he like draws this bomb, and then he uses his finger like a lighter. It's cool because it makes
Yeah.
the lighter flip sound. And then he lights the bomb. It fucking explodes, and like Bob and all his boys are like, ah.
Yeah, because he tells Bob, he was like, make sure no one goes through that. Hold down the fort, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they leave, instantly it's like they all the
shrunk-head
all the
guys
shrunk-head
go
guys
running
run out.
Dude, and then Rory sees them all coming out.
He was like,
And-
"Ah!"
and
Because before that happens, Rory's like, honor system, only take one, and the kid's like, fuck that.
yeah, because he hears all the shit going on upstairs.
The kid grabs the whole fucking cauldron.
He's like,
Yeah, they're
asshole.
like, yeah, they call him an asshole. They're like, nice try, asshole.
But I mean, to be fair, who would want that? I remember earlier he said it was
Yeah,
filled with carrots, apples, and
apples.
grapes.
Yeah.
Or raisins.
Raisins.
And I was like, what the fuck? Who wants that?
Well, but there's a part like we didn't mention where they talk about how they're replacing the candy with like healthy
Yeah.
snacks.
yeah, because
Yeah.
Dee was like, yeah, we're replacing it with healthy snacks because Rory hates fun.
Yeah. But all the shrunken head people come running down and like they get out into the night.
Yeah.
And it's Halloween, so it's like the perfect night for them to be out.
Right.
To be fair. So then we're in the underworld.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
they go to the waiting room. And she's like, oh, yeah, you want to go to
Immigration.
Yeah.
That's Astrid and Jeremy.
Jeremy, yeah.
They're the ones that are told to go to immigration. There's also a part that we missed where Charles shows up to the waiting room, finally.
He's like, oh yeah, I need to go home to my wife. And she's like, take a number. He's
Take
like,
a
okay.
number. And then he goes and sits down beside like a dude who also got killed by a shark, I
But he's
guess.
like a surfer guy.
He's a surfer and it's like the top half.
He's like, bro, cool, dude.
Yeah, and then he fucking...
Does the hands?
he cowabungas him back.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, whatever. Like...
And then like
So
some
he
of the
sits down
blood
like-
spurts on the wall. Yeah, that was funny.
But anyway, so they go to immigration, and then Beetlejuice and Lydia are also running around, and he's like...
Because they're in the precinct.
yeah, and you hear
Because this is where we kind of get a little scene of...
Willem Dafoe.
do we know what Willem Dafoe's character was? We haven't called him by his character name. Johnny something, right?
I don't.
Because he was the actor.
Wolf Jackson.
Wolf Jackson. Yeah. Wolf's talking to all his deputies like, all right, we're looking for Beetlejuice.
Because they say he broke, like, code 669.
669, yeah.
Yeah,
And I leaned
nice.
over to Dylan. I said, nice.
Yeah. When I was at the gas station earlier, what I paid for was $14.69, and I said, nice. And nobody laughed. Sarah kind of laughed, but
I would have.
she was like, pfft.
But yeah, so we're looking for Beetlejuice. He's with a flesh bag.
Yeah, he's with a flesh bag, and this is what she looks like. And then they're fucking running around, and there's like kind of two scenes going on at the exact same time. I'm not exactly sure what the order is, but it shows like them down at immigration.
And that's where her dad's at.
Well, so it's Jeremy and Astrid, and she like signs her life away basically, and then they take her to go get on the Soul Train. And Beetlejuice has already mentioned that the Soul Train takes you to the great beyond.
Yep.
So it's like,
And I liked all the places too because it was like Elysian Fields, fire and brimstone.
As they're
the pearly gates was one of them.
yeah, that was funny.
and as they're carrying her away, that's when she sees her dad. She's like, Dad? And he's like, Astrid?
Yeah.
And then they
That Soul
show,
Train was funny.
Yeah.
and then they show Beetlejuice and Lydia running around down there in the underworld, and they split up because he says he's got to go to the men's room or the little boys' room, and she's like, "Well, I'm gonna go save my daughter."
Yeah.
And then it shows them go to the Soul Train,
Yeah.
where she gets, and it's just like,
it's just like
It pays homage to like the 1970s television show called Soul Train.
yeah, because that one guy comes out, he's like, all aboard the Soul Train. And there's like they're all disco dancing.
just a bunch of people dancing and stuff, and then Astrid gets shoved on the train.
Yeah.
And while she's getting pulled to get shoved on the train, you see Lydia show up, and she's like, Astrid! Oh my God, Astrid! And then she runs, and she like barely gets there in time and gets her off the
gets her
train.
off.
Yeah.
And then that's when the people come back like, oh, you're getting on that train.
Yeah, the
And they
security.
have to run away.
Yeah, they run.
And then also the cop guys show up too.
Yeah.
And they run away, and they go through an emergency exit. And while they're going through the emergency exit, the dad is like chasing after them and
Yep.
sees
Yep.
that they go into it.
Yeah.
And then they end up in like that place
The
that you
sand
can
dune.
see
The
Jupiter.
Jupiter's moon.
Jupiter's moon.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, well, what? She's like, oh, the afterlife is so fucking weird.
Yeah.
And because it is, like, that's such a weird
And then
part.
bam, sandworm.
Sandworm shows up and tries to get him.
And they run away, and then that's when the dad's like, hey,
Well,
take my hand.
I know you didn't watch that as a kid, but did the sandworm scare you when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was like,
Okay,
what the fuck?
okay. Because I used to be afraid of the
Especially
sandworm.
with the music,
as
it's
a
like
kid.
dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
And then the dad shows up through like another random door, and he's like, "Take my hand." And then they get up, and he saves them from the sandworm, like right before it bites them,
Yeah.
you know. And then they're all in his little apartment, I guess, in the underworld where he lives. And
Drink coffee.
they drink coffee. He makes them coffee. And
I don't know if I drink that.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, oh, okay.
Because like, there was a scene way earlier where like Beetlejuice was at a water cooler and that water was like yellow. And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I drink that.
And they're talking about like he's telling them like, hey, you know, like I'm sorry you can't see me, but I visit both of y'all.
You're like,
live."
I come look at you regularly.
Yeah, but you can't see me. And he's like, you know, y'all need to get closer because like y'all need to have each other.
Right.
Basically, like telling them how they need to get closer, and you know, like he's kind of giving them their blessing to like
Move on
like
with their
everything's
lives.
okay.
Yeah.
You know, like move on. Like I'm dead.
At least they're getting closure, basically.
And you know, at least they're kind of, and this is like a good way for them to kind of find out what happened to him because he's like covered in like the piranhas.
Yeah.
Like he's like all eat up with like fish bites. So you know he drowned and got eaten by fish.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, let me try to like help y'all get out of here.
Yeah.
Because he takes them.
Because they're like, oh, we gotta get your life back first. Because you can't leave without your life.
Yeah. He starts to take
I think
them
this
away.
is kind of where we cut to Delia too, when she wakes up in the waiting room. Somewhere
Yeah,
around here.
probably.
Yeah,
Because she's definitely already been bit by this point, which we already mentioned.
Yeah.
Because she's freaking out. She's like, no.
Because she knows exactly where she's at. She's like, no, I'm not dead.
Somebody made a mistake. Somebody made a mistake.
Those were
And the-
defanged.
And the lady's like, just take a number.
She's
you
like,
know?
no, I'm not supposed to be here. And then like they're kind of making fun of her for being a Karen too. He's like, oh, did that work? Did that work in real life?
Yeah.
She's like, that work for you? And she was like, oh, my husband can fix this. And she was like, yeah, sure she can.
And
And then this is also around the part where you find out that they found Bob and how he's dressed up, and they have him like in the interrogation room.
Yeah.
But he won't talk because he can't.
Yeah.
You know, he can't give anything up because his mouth's sewn shut.
Because it's a really cool scene too, where like it's like the first time Wolf Jackson like actually has a really cool moment where he's like, "Where's Beetlejuice?" Like he's like playing good cop bad guy. He's like, "Where's Beetlejuice at?" He's like,
Oh, we also didn't mention where he was like hyping up the cops. He's like reading off a script.
Yeah, that
And,
was
like his
funny.
secretary's holding behind him. Like that was pretty funny because it just goes into him being an actor instead of like not actually one of these people. Like
Yeah.
like he can't.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. But like, it's funny that he's mostly just playing at detective.
He's just playing
it's funny.
a detective, yeah, or like the head of security or whatever. But yeah, like he tries to interrogate Bob, and then you see them
He
get
doesn't give up anything, and then that's when Dolores comes in,
around this time. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dolores comes in and she tries to get Bob to talk,
but he won't because he can't. So she
Yeah.
starts sucking.
and she's yeah. That's
So
pretty
anyway, I started sucking.
much- yeah. So
She's
she
like-
just started sucking. She fucking sucks his name tag in her
tag, yeah.
mouth, and then
Yeah.
she sucks his stitches, and then she kills him.
Yeah, I
I
was
feel
like,
so bad for Bob.
I was like, poor
man.
Bob.
His eyes fucking popped too. I was like, oh, poor Bob.
Poor Bob.
Poor Bobo.
He died a shitty way in death and in life because he's a
Right.
shrunken head. Like,
Yeah.
and then I would say we cut back to the dad, and he sends them up that ladder, and they're in like what are those I guess it's just a crypt.
They
would
didn't
be.
have though because the Beetlejuice still has to send him to hell first. Because remember he's
yeah,
like we gotta go
yeah.
get this. We gotta go get him. He's like, hey, stop! Don't stamp that. And he's like, it's too late. He stamped it. And then that's when Beetlejuice. It turns out Beetlejuice was the stamper. He's like, oh, nope.
Yeah, because it says shit out of love.
But what does
It's-
this is whenever they drop the F bomb.
Yeah.
Because he's like,
He calls a motherfucker.
he's like, see you in hell, fucker.
Yeah, he says, "See you in hell, fucker." Oh, sorry. See you in hell, fucker. And then he falls and goes into hell. And that's such like an anticlimactic way to like take care of Jeremy, but
Yeah.
it's pretty fucking funny.
Because at first I was like, that's weird, just resolved like that. But I was like, that's when I kind of realized this movie was a lot of different like plots and subplots kind of folding in, and like it was a very interesting way to weave the story together. But it, like, surprisingly, he was able to work it in there really well.
Yeah, it all makes
like
sense.
a lesser movie would have done a shit job with the pacing, but somehow he did good in this one.
Well, it's like all these little subplots that are down here, which I mean you can't see my hands, but you know they're like the roots of the story
Yeah.
that build to like them getting Beetlejuice into the real world.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like if none of this bullshit with Jeremy happens, then you don't call Beetlejuice.
Right.
You know? So like
Which
it's kind of
is
like
which is why I say like when Michael Keaton said he wouldn't come back unless the script was there, I was like that was a pretty good script.
Yeah.
Like,
it was a good.
I can
script.
see why Michael Keaton's like, yeah, that sounds fun. I can do that.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. I can have fun with that.
And then he runs them out and runs them up into the crypt after that though.
Because she gets her life back, she can go back to real world.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
As soon as they run out of there, that's when fucking Rory's like, "Oh yeah, oh my god,
Yeah,
yeah,
the wedding. And then like they realize too after that, now they've had closure, they're kind of a little closer. And as they're running to the church, Ashley's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?"
they said, "Mom, you don't have to do this."
She's like, "Yeah, he loves me. That should be good enough, right?" But
No.
so she gets to the church, and he's like, "Oh, where's your wedding dress?" And she's like, "Oh, just be happy I'm here."
Yeah. She's like, "Who are all these people?" Oh, and then
That's the
also
whole plot we kind of missed too, where like she wanted to keep the wedding low key, but like he's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get." This is another reason you can tell he's doing it for the money, because he's like, "Oh, yeah, we got some influencers here. A guy from Netflix is in the crowd."
yeah,
Yeah,
like I'm gonna
like,
have some small media.
And then later,
Nobody less than 5 million followers.
yeah, and then earlier too, because he's talking about how like they're like, "Oh yeah, I think it's when they want to leave town." He's like, "Yeah, then we can go home and we can finish our shows." Like, because he wants the fucking money.
We also forget that whenever Delia's in the waiting room, she calls Beetlejuice,
Yeah,
and she makes a
Yeah.
deal with him too, because
I meant to bring that up, but we got sidetracked again. But yeah.
she brings her back to the real world too.
Yep.
Because she's at the wedding already when they get there.
Yeah.
And but they're in there talking, and they're like they start to walk down the aisle, and then Beetlejuice shows up at the wedding.
And injects Rory with some
with
truth
some
serum.
truth serum, and then he just starts spouting off how the only reason why he doesn't have a dead fiance, he only wanted her for the money.
He doesn't believe in ghosts.
He doesn't believe in ghosts. He only went to that circle so he could prey on innocent women filled with sorrow.
Yeah, at their
And then
lowest point.
Because Lydia said, or Delia says that earlier too. I thought that was such a good line. He's like, "Oh yeah, wow, he fell in love with you at your lowest point in life," and I was like, "Damn." Or no, he was turned on by your lowest point in life, and I was like, "Fuck, that's
It's
I
brutal.
was like, I don't like the way she said that. It just feels icky.
It does feel, but it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and you can tell. Like,
Yeah.
You can tell. Because they do talk about, like, how they met in the group therapy and all this shit. And he was just preying on someone that was hurt.
Yeah.
Because I think she even mentions that they met, like, right after the husband died.
Because remember, he faked wife dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he admits
That-
all that. He admits he was there for the money.
Whenever he's doing that, and the first thought in my mind was Will Ferrell from Wedding Crashers. Whenever
Yeah.
you go to funerals.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then what happens after that? Beetlejuice like lets Lydia punch him because she socks him with like the big Beetlejuice boxing glove, and he goes flying. And then he's like, "Hey, people, we're gonna need some privacy." And
they all get sucked into their phone.
and they do like the cool like effects, like what they did in the original, where, like,
where
they
the
would,
face is like a lot.
they fuck their faces up to scare people.
Yeah, their eyes are like popping out.
Yeah,
It was
and they
cool.
all get sucked in their phones.
And like the look on Beetlejuice's face, he's getting off on it too.
Yeah,
He's
what,
like,
what a weird way to go, getting sucked through your own phone.
right,
Then Beetlejuice is dressed up in his red tux.
full on.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, it's time for this wedding.
And it has her red dress on.
Yeah, and then she has her red dress on, and then there's like a musical number.
Big musical number.
and
Which
it's
is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Something about a cake.
I think it's a song about like the guy like ran off or whatever. So like they just took the wedding cake and left it out in the rain.
Yeah, and they'll never get the recipe again. Or
Yeah.
they don't know the recipe.
It's like an allegory for like, oh, he left me and I'll never be the same.
Yeah.
Basically. But like it's like a whole music number like Deo where like everyone's listening to it.
Yeah.
Oh, and there was another scene, another funny line before Rory gets injected with the truth serum. When Beetlejuice first shows up, he's like, "You're that scary man from my dreams," and he's like, "Oh, more like a nightmare." But thanks for the compliment or whatever.
It's like I'm more of a nightmare guy. But.
Yeah, I thought that was funny, worth mentioning. But yeah, there's like this whole musical number, and it cuts to like different, like he makes the priest sing. There's like trumpets, people, like
Yeah.
an orchestra almost
Violinists and
shows
shit,
up.
yeah. And then it intercuts with Dick Wolf coming
Dick.
coming
Wolf
out.
Dick.
Well, because that's what I was thinking, like Dick
Wolf.
That's what I was thinking of. That's why I keep saying Dick. But
Yeah, Wolf Jackson come running up.
come out of where they came out, and he's like doing this classic thing where he's like ushering them like
go.
yeah, go
And they're like running up.
he's like doing
songs.
he's fucking doing these Dark Souls barrel rolls too.
And then it'll like make and then it'll cut back, and he's like, Astrid keeps trying to grab the book because the book for the recently deceased is there.
Yeah.
And she keeps trying to grab it, and he's like still like stop her and make her start singing and dancing, so she can't do it. And so like they're all singing and dancing this little jive about the fucking wedding cake, and there's like rain and shit.
And they start floating up in the air. It's really cool.
And Rory comes and starts dancing real nice.
Dude,
Yeah.
he had like that weird little like prance.
Yeah, it was like ballet almost.
And then he freezes them because he's like, "Oh, I've always loved a dream sequence." Or
Yeah, because
something
it was
like
really
that.
good. Because like the choreography was really good too, like, especially with like Adelia and Astrid. Like the way they were like in sync. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Dancing.
Yeah,
was
yeah,
cool.
it was cool. I like that.
But she did something similar for like she was dancing similar as she did in that show she was in Wednesday.
Almost like that. Yeah.
So after he freezes the people, the cops all come in and he freezes them too.
Yep.
And then right before he like marries Lydia, Dolores shows up.
Yep.
Yeah. I like this F-bomb because they just censor it.
Yeah, he's like, what the? And then
It's
what
like,
the- What the beep? And then
because I remember when he said the first F bomb, I was like, bro, that was a really good use of the one and only F bomb.
yeah.
See you, hell fucker.
then she shows up and she's like, she can't have you, your soul's mine,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And he's like, oh, but you could have Rory. And then it's like Rory's wearing like that I Heart Dolores shirt,
Yeah.
which is pretty funny. He's like,
Because though he phrased it too, it's like, oh, he's like, what someone like so like wretched and putrid that like I would want them, and it's like Rory because he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then like they're like next to each other, and then that's when Astrid gets a hold of the Book of the Dead, draws a little door,
Brings out the sand.
brings out to the moon, and then the sandworm comes out and eats them both. Like it's a really cool thing because Beetlejuice is like a
he becomes a matador.
matador. He's like
And
and then
he
like
calls
it was
it-
really cool too because I like how the sandworm hit the wall. He's like, oh fuck shit.
Yeah.
And he does it one more time, and he like woo yeah, and then it
jumps right into
in
Rory and Astrid.
Yeah,
and
Dolores.
Dolores. Yeah. And then Beetlejuice is like, okay, you got to marry me because you signed this contract.
Yep.
He tells Lydia she's
Oh,
got to
yeah.
marry him.
Yeah,
Like,
and then he's like, actually, because she's like, actually, Astrid is like, you violated code 669, so therefore that contract's null and void.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
just burns.
And then it burns in with crazy. He's like, ah.
and then
then that's when
Lydia's like telling him like they could never be
like,
together.
that's it. You can never be
anyway.
together. And I like this line too because she's like, also the 600 year age gap was a little weird for me.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
that's funny. And then she's like Beetlejuice and like the more she says it, the like he's like blowing up like a balloon.
Yeah.
And then she's like Beetlejuice, and then he like pops,
Yep.
and like he like comes to the ground. He's like, oh, I should have got married in Vegas.
Yeah, and then he disappears.
yeah.
And then everyone gets on Frozen after that. And then Wolf's like, hey, you did a good job.
For 2 meat bags, you did a good
You
job.
did a good job. You got rid of Beetlejuice. And then they're like, oh, Delia, you're coming with us. And then Lydia's like, wait, you died?
Yeah.
And then that's when Ashton's like, they were defanged, were they? She's like, no.
She's like, well, I'll miss you, you know. It was just nice.
It was sweet too, because like it was definitely one of those like, oh man, I'm glad they were able to like squash their beef from the first one.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because they had such a bad relationship.
They had a really good relationship with this one actually.
Yeah, well, I mean,
'cause
like
you
in
could
the
tell
first
that
one.
because they're also coming together too for Astrid too.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I like that a lot. And then she's like, all right, well, see you, flesh bags. We're going back to
Yeah.
we'll go back to the afterlife.
The underworld, afterlife, whatever.
And then is this where she's reunited with Charles?
Yeah, somewhere around here. Like, she goes back and Charles is
Because
there.
Lydia and Astrid hug and like, oh, we love each other now. I'm glad
She's
we-
going to the Soul Train.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
That's
uh,
when she sees Charles.
Yeah, she's
She's
like,
like,
Charles.
and she's like, look at what happened to me. Like, it doesn't even
Yeah.
acknowledge that his head's missing.
Yeah. It was
She's
just
like, she just has those little bitty snake bite marks, and she's
Yeah.
like, look
Yeah.
at what they did to me, oh my god, and they're talking, and, you know, it's a nice little reconciliation for them in the
Right.
afterlife.
And they
they
jump on the
see
Soul
each
Train, and
other.
I guess they would go to the Pearly Gates.
Pearly Gates of the Great Beyond.
Maybe he'll get his head back.
And then it shows Lydia's on the set of Ghost House, and she's like signing off for
This
the
will be our last
time.
one.
Yep.
So
I want
she's
to go
done.
enjoy life.
See, I'm gonna go live a little bit, and then that's when she's like, "I've spent so long with ghosts that I want to spend some time living."
Yeah.
And then
With the
is
people
it-
I love.
Yeah, and then like it's like a thing of them going to like Spain or something, and then like Astrid sees this boy, and it's like a little time lapse of them meeting, falling in love,
Yeah.
getting married.
getting married, and then she's having a kid, and then like right at the end of it, she's like getting ready to push and have the kid, and then out pops fucking baby Beetlejuice.
Baby Beetlejuice.
Baby Beetlejuice, and he kills the fucking doctors, and he's like climbing up the walls,
Yeah.
and he drops down on
He's like, Mama.
Astrid and says, "Mama," and then she wakes up,
Yeah.
and then it's like
Beetlejuice is like, I have had the weirdest dream.
I just had the weirdest dream. I just had the weirdest dream, and then she wakes up again, and she looks over, and he's not there, and the movie ends.
And then that's the movie. That's movie
Yeah.
juiced.
movie
Movie juice.
Poorly to an extent.
Yeah,
I don't disagree.
but Jeff will help us with that.
Well, I definitely think though that we hit all the points
Yeah.
for sure. Like I think we put it together.
If
as
a
well as
little
we
out of
could.
order.
Yeah, there's definitely some points. I also wanted to mention that whenever they go to Spain, they go there because I think they're going to see like the haunted places
Yeah,
that Astrid
Just like
and her
her-
dad
yeah,
were talking
yeah,
about
Haunted
going to
Haunted
see.
Place,
I wanted to
yeah.
add that.
I forgot about that.
So I'll go first for ratings.
Okay.
I guess I don't know the last time I went first was. I'd say like an 8.5. It was a really good sequel, like
Yeah.
a really
It was good.
fucking
I
good
liked it.
sequel for a movie that I never thought should have a sequel.
Yeah,
This was a very good sequel.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because like they didn't leave it on like a cliffhanger by any means in the
No.
first one, you
No.
know. But and to figure out a good way to bring him back and to add all this new shit, they did a very good job.
And it explored the underworld a lot more than I like too.
I agree.
Yeah.
And explored the underworld a lot more, like you said. You get to see a lot more ghosts. You know,
Yeah.
like you get a
we
better
get
understanding of a lot of
Beetlejuice's
things.
backstory.
Sad,
Yeah.
sad that we didn't get any of the football players from
Yeah,
the first
right.
one.
That's
That's
true.
sad.
But we got the cops.
Yeah, they
those
were
are cool.
funny. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I like that they kept Beetlejuice's screen time to a minimum, like they did in the original one too.
I do think he had more screen time in this one though.
Yeah, but
But he still didn't have
yeah.
like a lot.
No.
No,
Like he
yeah.
definitely wasn't like overdone
Yeah.
by any means.
Yeah, I like that part about
Yeah.
it. I'd probably give it an 8
Yeah.
as well.
No, it was a little slow for me in the beginning. In the beginning, I was wondering, I'm like, does this really need to happen?
Yeah,
But it won me over very. After we get to the house, it won me over very quickly.
Yeah,
Are you saying 8 or 8.5 for sure?
I think I'm gonna go 8.5.
I think I'm gonna go 7.5 because like it just didn't have me in the beginning. On a rewatch, I could see it going up to an 8, but for now, I'm gonna go 7.5 because like it was good. It's just the beginning was a little weird for me, but it won me over quickly.
Good movie.
yeah. That was another movie juice and movie rated, and we'll be back next week. New episodes every drop every Thursday.
Every
Next week,
drop Thursday.
Every
Yeah.
new episode
Yeah.
every drop.
We'll be
Thursday.
back next week with Dope. You can follow us on Facebook at Movie Juice, Instagram at Movie Juice Pod, Twitter at Movie Juice Pod. We have a coming soon website at www.moviejuicepod.com. You can email us at moviejuicepod@gmail.com. All of our links can be found on our LinkedIn, which is on our Instagram page for sure.
Instagram and Twitter.
And we are on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube. And we'll be back next week, like I said. I've been Dylan.
I've been Kyle.
I've been James. And one last time, this has been The Juice.
Thrills the